Thank you very much. Thanks for that very warm introduction. And you know, I'm supposed to be on a 75 city book tour or so, and this is stop number 8 or 9. I don't think I want to leave. The publisher might be upset with that. Thank you all for coming today. It really means a lot to me, and I've met a few of you in advance. I look forward to meeting all of you today before I head for other parts. Thanks to our local animal welfare groups for co-sponsoring this. These are fabulous organizations in your community who are really trying to embody the principles that we're talking about here, so please support them and the outstanding work that they do. I want to talk a little bit about the book, and then I'm going to be really happy to take some questions for you, and then we'll sign all of your books that you have. And my arm is strong, so I'm happy to sign as many as you wish. I wrote this book for a variety of reasons. I have been at this issue of thinking about animals and caring about animals for my entire life. And I'm sure that many of you are in the same place, that you had a love and passion for animals that was built into you. And I called The Bond, and I titled the book The Bond. I'm the youngest of 4 kids, and my 3 older siblings and my parents are all wonderfully compassionate, decent people. They were not that aware of these issues. They were not aware of dog fighting and puppy mills and the other issues that occupy a lot of my brain matter now. And while they weren't aware, and they certainly did nothing to harm animals when I was a kid, I just had this incredible passion for other creatures. I had it for as long as I can remember. I had all of our encyclopedias in the house, dog-eared to all of the animal entries. I had everything memorized about pronghorn antelope and buffalo and all of the creatures that are on this planet. And I was drawing pictures of them, and I asked my aunts and uncles to get me books about animals. I loved the pets that we had in our home. And I knew that animals were different. I knew they had this beautiful fur and big, beautiful eyes. They were athletic. They ran fast. I knew they were different. And to me, those differences, it never occurred to me to disqualify animals from any sort of moral consideration or any decency because they were different. Their differences augmented my perception of them. I thought they were just this incredible kaleidoscope of incredible creatures sharing the planet with us, and I couldn't get enough of them. And as I got older, this feeling never left me. And at the same time, I also made a lot of wrong decisions when I was a young person because I wasn't aware of all of the ways that animals are threatened in our society. And as I got older, when I went off to college, I began to learn about all of these different problems that exist for animals, whether it's factory farming or the other issues I mentioned, or seal killing, or the loss of species, whatever it was. I began to learn and take this in. I began to read, and I said, you know, I love animals. I care about animals. I've been fascinated by them. But there's a larger issue. It's not just my animals, and it's not just my appreciating animals. I've got to do something about what's going on in the rest of society. I can't be a bystander in the face of the cruelty that exists in our society and across the world. And I said, I've got to jump in with both feet, try to do something about it. And in my time, you know, when I was 19 or so, I decided to start an animal advocacy organization. And ever since then, I have just been full throttle trying to turn around what's going on in our society with respect to the callous and cruel treatment of the creatures. And, you know, one of the themes in this book is that we do have this instinctive connection to animals. In the first part of the book, I try to explain why we are so deeply connected to animals. And I argue that this is not an invention of our modern society. It's not some social construction. It's something that has always been with humanity. It's had different expressions throughout the human experience, but there's always been a connection. If you look at the work of anthropologists throughout the world with recently studied tribal communities. If you look today at non-agricultural communities in Brazil or New Guinea, you'll see that the people in those communities, while they are killing animals for survival, they have an intense knowledge of all of the creatures of the forest. They know animal behavior. They know the plants. They are really connected to all aspects of nature, and when they kill animals, many of these communities offer rituals of atonement. They have apologies that are offered to the animals. And while it's not any sort of orthodox animal protection application of these ideas, there is a bond, there is a connectivity. And if you look at one of the big junctures in human history, which was domestication, I mean, the world changed 15,000 years ago when we brought the dog into the human community. The wolves were transformed into dogs. It was a bit of a kinship. They came to us, we came to them. And then, of course, there were a series of other animals, wild animals, who became domesticated from there. Sheep and cows and pigs and other creatures. And if you look at human population on this planet, through the entire arc of the human experience, you see low levels of population, and then you see things dramatically change with domestication. And in these last 15,000 years, our numbers have increased. Of course, it took until 1820 for us to reach 1 billion people on the planet. And then it took another 60 or 70 years to get to 2 billion, and then we've been increasing by 1 billion in shorter increments, and now we have 7 billion people on the planet. But even with domestication, some may see that controlling animal populations and taking charge of their lives, some people may think of that as some sort of very hierarchical notion, and it is. And some people may see it as some sort of subjugation, and it can certainly turn into that. But there was also a kinship and a connection between people and the animals. And of course, these were non-agricultural communities that started this process of domestication. What is so interesting even about these pre-agricultural societies before domestication is that so many of these communities had pets. We think of tribal communities as not necessarily a pet-keeping community, but they had wild animals as pets. And some of the animals, like wolf puppies, actually suckled at the breast of women in these communities. There is so much evidence to show of a connectivity between humans and animals through all the time. And then, of course, to look at our modern day circumstance, to look at so many different organizations that exist in our society to represent the interests of animals, the groups that are co-sponsoring here today. You can think of animal advocacy groups really defending every kind of animal. There are 10,000 animal advocacy organizations in some form in the United States. Most of them are service organizations built around rescuing animals or fostering them or providing shelter to them, but all animals are represented by someone. There are guinea pig groups, there are farm animal groups, there are protectors of wolves or mountain lions. There are rabbit protection groups. We have a rabbit sanctuary that we support in South Carolina, and these are injured rabbits that we take in. And our motto at this sanctuary is we provide hope for the helpless. Every creature is spoken for in our society, and isn't it amazing that we have 10,000 organizations, and HSUS has 11 million supporters alone? What an incredible statement about the penetration of these ideals in our society. I mean, just remarkable. And then you have all sorts of other manifestations of this bond and connectivity to animals. 171 million dogs and cats in our homes. We have 70 million people who are wildlife watchers, whether they're bird watching or watching mammals, or maybe they're going out in the ocean to watch whales. We have Animal Planet on television today, 24 hours of all animals. I mean, this is an incredible thing. There's so much evidence that we are connected to animals. In fact, it's unusual for people not to have a pet in the household, since 2/3 of American households have pets. So if you are an animal-loving person, you are not unusual, you are not overly sentimental, you are in the mainstream of American society, because we are connected to our animals, we have them in our lives, we go and see them, and we do so much for them.